There is a unique history that exists between former African slaves and Native American Indians that began in the U.S. hundreds of years ago. This heritage is a part of my family history. Unfortunately, many of the facts have been lost throughout generations. This made me think about who I am and who were the people that influenced my very existence. I may never know all the answers, but here's what I do know. Africans were brought here in the 1600s from their native country of Africa. Outsiders robbed Africa of her wealth, gold, diamonds, ivory, and herbs. African men, women, and children were declared slaves and packed into ships and removed from areas like modern day Nigeria, Madagascar, and Sierra Leone. In North America, slaves replaced white indentured servants and were used to tend crops. Native Indians were already here in North America. They had ownership of the land and lived off its natural resources. The Indians were an asset to white settlers, providing them guidance through the hills of Appalachia. The settlers looked to Indians to be their land guides, trade partners, and in some instances, military allies. History shows that natives, like many others, also owned African slaves. At some point, the Indians and slaves formed alliances and fought for their rights. Indians began to hide runaway slaves and allowed African slaves to become part of their clans. As a symbol of their unity, they engaged in intermarriage to preserve and create their distinct cultures. Some slaves gained freedom through marital unions with Indians and viewed the strength of their alliances as a way to rebel against plantation owners. The Indians thought intermarriage would help them preserve their heritage, since African slaves had shown great resistance to diseases they had not survived. Indians also wanted the alliance as a force in helping protect their land. Despite the Europeans' efforts to keep the races separate, they formed strong bonds based on mutual experience, love, and respect. As a result of this, by the year 1750, many Africans lived with, married, and had children with Indians. The intermingling of both groups gave birth to a new culture, a culture we call Black Indians. Not all natives were removed during the Trail of Tears. As a result of this, some natives were urbanized and mixed with African American and other races in Appalachia. Throughout the Appalachia region, we can find the descendants of these African and Native Indians. Today, they host many traditional and cultural events to recognize and celebrate this heritage. When we think of Indians, we think of the traditional images we see in movies or on TV. Today, they can be found in entertainment, politics, and other vocations. Some of the most famous Black Indians we know are Langston Hughes, the poet, Frederick Douglass, Jesse Jackson, Tina Turner, the Jackson family, and Kerry Washington. All these people hail from the union of Africans and Indians. So who are Black Indians? Their lives reflect the same diversity as any other cultural group in America. Some are wealthy, middle class, and some are impoverished. They are educated, others are uneducated. Many are employed in different careers, and others deal with unemployment like so many other Americans today. And there are those who belong to this heritage but are unaware. Some are diluted descendants like myself with a small amount of Indian heritage. These are descendants of two races with common experiences and a will to survive. They are Africans, they are Indians, they are Americans.